Hey, church family, here with today's word from the Word. And today, I'm going to look at Proverbs chapter 18, verse 13. I find that to be an interesting verse because I ran across it the other day, and it speaks to something that's consistently been important to me and something that I need to improve on as well. Proverbs 18:13 says, "To answer before listening, that is folly and shame." What's the writer saying? What is God inspiring this writer to say? He's saying that there's a habit amongst human beings, and that's that we are so eager to get out what we have to say that often we don't listen to what's being said. And when we do that, we miss the message. I can't tell you the number of disagreements, the amount of hurt feelings that I've heard because people don't take time to listen to what is being said before responding. Instead, they hear a phrase, they hear a tone, and they just respond before the other person's even finished. Now, it does a couple of things. It makes the other person not feel respected because you didn't take the time to actually listen to what they said. And more than just hearing the sounds, you didn't actually process what they said because you're just waiting your turn. Proverbs says this is folly, it's foolishness, and it's shame. It's something that is a lack of maturity, not to listen to the other person. So here's a story that I've used over and over again in our own life. Growing up, there was a phrase that incited a lot of anxiety into me. I had a less than great relationship with my own mother, and she would use the phrase, "think about that," in order to get the upper hand in an argument. Well, I didn't think much about it. Grew up, moved out, got married, and then one day my wife and I are having a very appropriate discussion, and we're disagreeing, and she uses the phrase, this very same phrase, after she makes a great point. She says, "You need to think about that." And without even realizing what was going on, everything in my being focused on that one phrase, and pent-up anger and bitterness just spilled onto her. I just started talking loudly and nonstop. As a matter of fact, the only thing that really did stop me was that I ran out of breath. And in that moment, we were staring at each other. I took a breath in and I said, "Okay, first I need to say I'm sorry. Now let me explain why." And I explained how that phrase was a trigger in my life. And she looked at me and her eyes got wide. She goes, "I promise never to use that phrase again." I can tell you, she still hasn't used that phrase with me to this day, all these years later. What I want to encourage you is I fell victim to that very idea of not listening to what was being said. Instead, I let a phrase and I trigger me, and I moved without thinking and responding. And it was foolishness on my part, and it was shameful on my part. I had to apologize to my wife for my reaction. I want to encourage each and every one of us, take time to not only hear what's being said, but to process it before responding. That's what the Bible calls us to. That's what this verse calls us to. May you have a great day. Listen to somebody around you. God bless.